morning. It's not a good one in regards to the media space, but here we are. Wednesday it is. A very good morning to you who are joining us for the first time, but to our dear viewer who is always here with us and waking up with us on a daily, Mondays to Friday. We are glad to have your company once more. This is Good Morning Uganda, and here we are. On a sad note, like I've mentioned, that it does look to be or seem to be a good morning, but as early as today, that is midnight, so to speak, news broke out that former journalist and as well as the presidential advisor on media matters, Tamale Mirundi, is no more, or he has passed on. And that is something that has broken quite a number of hearts for those who have been on social media following everything or clips of Tamale Mirundi, especially in regards to the controversial political texts, social texts, and as well as entertainment texts that he has definitely been having. Well, he's a gentleman who has been dominating different media discussions over the past decade, and Tamale Mirundi is surely a man not to forget, or a man who is going to be here with us in spirit for quite some time. May his soul rest in eternal peace. And well, when it comes to Tamale Mirundi, let me start with Robert Chirabonyonyintono. Robert, first of all, good morning.
Good morning to you, Sonko.
It's on a sad note that we announce the demise of Tamale Mirundi, who was a senior journalist back in the day. And well, in his last days, you could pretty much say he has still been very active in media, not as a presenter or an active journalist, but a journalist who has been giving his opinions and advice, one or two.
Well, Tamale Mirundi has been a very unique person in the media fraternity. I remember hosting Tamale Mirundi for 2 years, every Tuesday when he was the presidential press secretary, on Star FM, one of our radio stations, the Uganda version, and that would be every Tuesday from 7 to 8. Now, one thing I noticed about Tamale Mirundi, he was a very informed journalist. He would research. If you are discussing real serious issues, he would do research. But also, Tamale Mirundi mastered the art of branding himself. Now, the Tamale Mirundi that the media knew and many people knew, that was how he had chosen to brand himself. But there was another Tamale Mirundi, the original version, that sometimes you could host him, and he used to stay in Zana. But then I was staying along Entebbe Road around Seguku. So you'd go together with him, and he would drop you around Zana so that you continue with your journey. But the person you would have on set, the jokes, the hunger, and all that, when you left set, he was a different person. He was a normal person. The drama, sometimes, I remember one time he carried a hammer. But when you go off, he's a different person, very humble. Of course, you could not step on his feet and move away. But if I've ever seen a person who knows how to brand and says, this is what the world is thinking of me, I must stay like that. The only thing I pray, that he found a time to forgive those that offended him. Yeah, because also had those moments that when you would speak to him off camera, he would have some hunger. He was annoyed, and I hope he found time, the last minute, to say, Heavenly Father, I forgive all. Because he believed, he had that thing in him. Otherwise, he's a journalist that we have missed in the journalism profession. You would call him when you wanted to know something, and he would give it to you. And finally, he would wish well
to everyone.
To everyone. He's a man who will tell you, Chirabo, there is this opportunity and this opportunity. I can call there. You can be part of this team. Very few people in the journalism profession, most of those that have been journalists, in my time of my career, are the most hard people to work with. They're the people who swindle allowances of fellow journalists. They're the people who will feel, but he was open-hearted and would always want to see you better so that the time you've hosted him, you add something to your life that you can allude to him as Tamale Mirundi, having been the person who has connected you. Rest in eternal peace. Joseph Tamale Mirundi
Senior.
Senior.
Well, of course, and he does leave Tamale Mirundi Jr., who also managed to share this information on his social media platforms. But that said, Chantal Oliver Canada is with us this morning in Studio B. I would like to take her part on what she has observed from Tamale Mirundi over the past years of his time on earth. Good morning, Chantal.
Good morning, Sonko. It is indeed a sad morning for those that are in the media fraternity, but especially those that looked up to Tamale, but those that actually got to interact with the kind of wisdom he had. And sometimes he would say things in a seemingly joking way, but if you really scrutinize them, you would realize they hold water. I will agree with Cherabo that when it comes to personal branding, he had branded himself a certain way. And please note that this is someone who held an office for 13 years, the Presidential Press Secretary, for 13 years. That should mean something.
Well, he's been there, done that. He has lit so many candles, and unfortunately, it has been God's plan that his candle has finally burnt out.
Right.
And the book of Job, chapter 1, verse 21 says, "The Lord gave and the Lord has taken away." May the name of the Lord be praised, and may his soul continue to rest in eternal peace. That is Tamale Mirundi Senior. Now, that said, we do have news coming your way here on Good Morning Uganda, but first we start off from the local scene to see what has been making headlines, all the big stories in the past 24 hours.
Well, Kiteezi is still making rounds. That is the landfill that saw lives of people being lost, where the State Minister Lilian Abar has indicated that government is at a comprehensive assessment of the displaced and affected individuals from the Kiteezi landfill incident, which is ongoing, where over 1,000 people are reported to have been impacted. The government is also expediting the process of opening a new landfill site in Menvu, Nansana. Nakawa East Member of Parliament Ronald Mwezo Nsubuga requested the government to develop a comprehensive resettlement plan. Chadondo East County Member of Parliament Mwadanku Nyingi mentioned that eyewitnesses reported a blast. Now, residents had observed Chinese workers installing pipes in the garbage for a month and emphasized that KCCA needs to explain the presence and act of the Chinese at the site. Minister for Kampala, Ms. Kabanda, denied having knowledge of the Chinese operations at the Kiteezi landfill. Deputy Speaker of Parliament Thomas Tayebwa highlighted the need to provide more support to those involved in the rescue efforts in Mukono County North. And Mukono County North Member of Parliament Kiwanuka Abudala agreed that the proposed Dundu Mukono area for waste dumping is a residential zone and should not be used for this purpose. Some MPs remarked that Kiteezi is a garbage dumping site and does not meet the standards of a landfill. MPs also reacted to the support of 5 million given by the President to the families who lost loved ones and 1 million to those who were injured. And away from the Kiteezi, we now move to matters still of Parliament, where former leader of opposition in Parliament, Mathias Mpuuga, has disagreed with the High Court ruling that the clerk to Parliament should face disciplinary action over the 1.7 billion shillings shared by the parliamentary backbench commissioners. Mpuuga was among the beneficiaries of the service award, but defends the clerk to Parliament, who he said was not given room to be heard by court. In the ruling, Justice Douglas Sinzigaza put it that the 1.4 billion service award was approved by Parliament under the clear supervision of the clerk to Parliament and the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, which contravenes their respective line of duty. Nevertheless, the MPs pursuing a censure motion to remove the backbencher commissioners seem not moved by the court ruling. A judgment dated 12 August 2024 of the High Court Civil Division in the matter of an application for judicial review between Daniel Bwete, the applicant, and the Parliamentary Commission pins the Clerk to Parliament, Adolf Mwesige, for being unmindful of the 1.4 billion shillings passed in the budget of the financial year 2021-2022. Judge Douglas faults the clerk for having not played his duty to detect an obvious process where the said service award was mixed up under entitlements dubbed as ex gratia for political leaders. The mixture of languages, including the retirement benefit, eased the avail of 1.7 billion shillings from the consolidated fund and shared among the four backbencher parliamentary commissioners, including Matthias Impuga, Solomon Serrani, Prosi Akampurira, and Esther Afoyochan. The Nyendo Mukungwe MP, Matthias Impuga, who has been at the helm of the public space criticism over the matter, is up in arms over the damage caused to his reputation. Court finds the backbencher commissioners off the hook after they benefited from a wrong process, hence directing that the PSST Ramadan Gobi takes disciplinary action over the Clerk of Parliament. The court ruling, in a twist of events, puts forward different interpretations of the operations of Parliament and the executive in budgeting process. And now to Forum for Democratic Change, the Katonga fraction. Members of FDC aligned to the Katonga faction have celebrating the dismissal of the case involving their party leaders. Uganda Road Court Chief Magistrate Colin Choshabire dismissed the case involving Engineer Waswabirigwa due to lack of evidence. Grade 1 Magistrate at Uganda Road dismissed the case filed by the Vice Chairperson of FDC Party of Eastern Uganda, who wanted the Forum for Democratic Change Party leader Engineer Waswabirigwa to leave that position. The court cites insufficient evidence. Birigwa has been accused of falsely claiming to be the party leader. Members of FDC Katonga fraction celebrated the ruling. Defense lawyer Moses Tugume expressed dissatisfaction with the court's decision, particularly regarding the lack of damages awarded to his client. The ruling comes as Forum for Democratic Change prepares to hold a delegates conference in August this very year to discuss the future of the party and elect new leaders. And finally, from the local scene, the Uganda Red Cross is urgently calling for support from partners to manage the emergency phase to the Lusanja Kiteezi landfill disaster. While receiving a donation of 100 million from Absa Bank, Robert Kwesiga, the Secretary General of the Red Cross Society, stated that there are over 1,000 people who are in dire need for humanitarian assistance. Uganda Red Cross team are currently on a search and rescue operation at the Kiteezi landfill site. According to Robert, the Secretary General of the organization, the landslide took everyone by surprise, resulting in weighty operational challenges. Absa Bank Uganda became the first financial institution to contribute fund to the Red Cross for the rescue team. The 100 million shilling donation by the bank will go towards strengthening the disaster response by funding the purchase of essential relief supplies for the affected people and families. The bank's timely contribution is seen as an expression of its commitment to humanity, providing the much-needed support to community are grappling with shortages of food, water, shelter, clothing, and other necessities.
Well, and that does it for our local news this morning. We now head to the international scene to see what else is making rounds away from Uganda.
Now, away from Uganda, while Z might be Russia's symbol of its invasion, a triangle represents Ukraine's most audacious attempt to repel it. They are tapped and or painted on the sides of every supply truck, tank, or personal carrier that heads towards the Russian border in the Sami region. It's an offensive that has seized hundreds of square kilometers of Russian territory and palpably restored momentum and morale to Ukraine's war effort. The Russian official in charge of the border region of Kursk has spoken of 28 settlements under Ukrainian control, and almost 200,000 Russians have fled their homes. And Tomasz has just returned from Ukraine's cross-border mission along with his comrade Accord, who nonchalantly say it was cool. Their drone unit had spent 2 days paving the way for the cross-border incursion. We had orders to come here, but we did not know what that meant, Tomasz admits as he pauses for a coffee at a petrol station. We suppressed the enemy's means of communication and surveillance in advance to clear the way. Away from that, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has announced he will not seek re-election as the leader of the ruling Liberal Democratic Party in the next month's party polls, in a decision that means the country will also have a new prime minister. Speaking at a news conference in Tokyo on Wednesday, Kishida said it was time for a new face at the helm of LDP and that he would fully support the leadership. In this election, it is necessary to show that people that the LDP is changing and the party is a new LDP, Kishida told reporters. For this, transparent and open elections and free and vigorous debate are important. The most obvious first step is to show the LDP will change is for me to step aside. I will not be running for the forthcoming presidential election. Kishida had informed senior administration officials of his intention not to run. Japanese media, including national broadcaster NHK, reported earlier. Kishida was elected party president in September 2021 for a 3-year term and won a general election shortly afterwards. And lastly, the UN chief Antonio Guterres has called for Africa to be given a permanent seat at the UN Security Council as part of reforms to correct historical injustices. The Security Council, the 5 permanent members of which are China, France, Russia, the UK and the US, has long been criticized for representing the realities that prevailed at the end of World War II, when much of Africa was still under colonial rule. The world has changed since 1945, but the composition of the Council, despite a few changes, has not kept pace, Mr. Guterres said. The 10 non-permanent members of the body are allocated by region, but unlike the 5 permanent members, they do not have the power to veto. The African Union has long been pushing for the continent to have 2 permanent representatives on the Council and an additional 2 seats as non-permanent representatives. The debate on Monday was convened by Sierra Leone, and its president, Julius Maada Bio, made the case for the continent. The time for half measures and incremental progress is over. Africa must be heard, and its demands for justice and equity must be met, he said. And that's it for our international stories this morning.
Well, now let's get into our dailies this morning. We start with the New Vision to see what is topping some of the front pages from the print media perspective. Kiteezi, temporary dump site has been secured, says the New Vision. Narrow researcher regrets building near the west site. There are stories about the same issue on 3 pages from page 4 to 7. Now, government starts registering coffee farmers in matters agriculture, as well as in public service government to relocate ministries. How is that so, and how will it be done? More stories to follow with the New Vision. Then President Museveni meets Lesotho Premier, find out what they discussed, and if at all there was any bilateral or memorandum of understanding that was as well penned down. You will find details in the New Vision. Then there is also a free copy for the Total magazine. It's Wednesday, and the new curriculum, O-level chemistry and answers, are available in today's New Vision. Now, in Mwalimu, what proposed teachers law says about internships. That is something that you can look out for as a reader this very fruitful Wednesday. Now, off to the Daily Monitor. The garbage headache, says Daily Monitor. Garbage headache is the headline. West not, want not. A new crisis is brewing up after the outraged residents in areas that KCCA has proposed to shift the dumping site trashed the move, flagging health fears and demanding that dumpsters find safer solutions elsewhere. Now, Mukono locals say they aren't ready for landfill as KCC gets temporary home in Nkumba. Now, legal fraternity have tongues waging over rejected judge. Then there is a bill to control alcohol staggering into brick wall. Also, Africa Public Health Body declares Mpox emergency. And then in the homes perspective, diaspora and expats dominate residential market. That is for the Daily Monitor, and maybe pretty controversial is the Lizard. It must have joined youth on strike. So the city on cliff edge, according to the Lizard, taking some satire off the situation in Kiteezi. Now to Kenya, the Daily Nation, you are on your own over high power bills. The Energy House team has gobbled up millions in allowances. That is something that you can look out for in the Daily Nation. Then Raila, Uhuru asked me to reach out to Ruto, says Raila Odinga. Then also there is something to do with the death of Bishop Muge. Moi drama and draw over Kenyatta Memorial. That is something that you can find out in the Daily Nation. Now in politics, Ruto and Gachagua allies plan separate meetings. Then the NHIF warning to patients with chronic illnesses. That is in the health perspective. Then education, state moves to forestall looming teachers strike. Then lastly, from the press review this morning is the Citizen newspaper. Fintech's sandbox to transform Tanzania's startup landscape. Then analysts weigh in on Samia's 4 hours amid police and Chadema clash. Then Sharia compliant fund debuts in Tanzania as there is a dispute as 2 companies claim ownership of Magambazi mine. Then good morning. It's not a good one in regards to the media space, but here we are. Wednesday it is. A very good morning to you who are joining us for the first time, but to our dear viewer who is always here with us and waking up with us on a daily, Mondays to Friday. We are glad to have your company once more. This is Good Morning Uganda, and here we are. On a sad note, like I've mentioned, that it does look to be or seem to be a good morning, but as early as today, that is midnight, so to speak, news broke out that former journalist and as well as the presidential advisor on media matters, Tamale Mirundi is no more, or he has passed on. And that is something that has broken quite a number of hearts for those who have been on social media following everything, or clips of Tamale Mirundi, especially in regards to the controversial political text, social text, and as well as entertainment text that he has definitely been having. Well, he's a gentleman who has been dominating different media discussions over the past decade, and Tamale Mirundi is surely a man not to forget, or a man who is going to be here with us in spirit for quite some time. May his soul rest in eternal peace. And well, when it comes to Tamale Mirundi, let me start with Robert Chirabonyonyintono. Robert, first of all, good morning.
Good morning to you, Sonko.
It's on a sad note that we announce the demise of Tamale Mirundi, who was a senior journalist back in the day. And well, in his last days, you could pretty much say he has still been very active in media, not as a presenter or an active journalist, but a journalist who has been giving his opinions and advice, one or two.
Well, Tamale Mirundi has been a very unique person in the media fraternity. I remember hosting Tamale Mirundi for 2 years, every Tuesday when he was the presidential press secretary, on Star FM, one of our radio stations, the Uganda version, and that would be every Tuesday from 7 to 8. Now, one thing I noticed about Tamale Mirundi, he was a very informed journalist. He would research. If you are discussing real serious issues, he would do research. But also, Tamale Mirundi mastered the art of branding himself. Now, the Tamale Mirundi that the media knew and many people knew, that was how he had chosen to brand himself. But there was another Tamale Mirundi, the original version, that sometimes you could host him, and he used to stay in Zana. But then I was staying along Entebbe Road around Seguku. So you'd go together with him, and he would drop you around Zana so that you continue with your journey. But the person you would have on set, the jokes, the hunger and all that, when you left set, he was a different person. He was a normal person. The drama sometimes, I remember one time he carried a hammer. But when you go off, he's a different person, very humble. Of course, you could not step on his feet and move away. But if I've ever seen a person who knows how to brand and says, this is what the world is thinking of me, I must stay like that. The only thing I pray that he found a time to forgive those that offended him. Yeah, because also had those moments that when you would speak to him off camera, he would have some hunger. He was annoyed, and I hope he found time at the last minute to say, Heavenly Father, I forgive all. Because he believed, he had that thing in him. Otherwise, he's a journalist that we have missed in the journalism profession. You would call him when you wanted to know something, and he would give it to you. And finally, he would wish well
to everyone.
To everyone. He's a man who will tell you, Chirabo, there is this opportunity and this opportunity. I can call there. You can be part of this team. Very few people in the journalism profession, most of those that have been journalists, in my time of my career, are the most hard people to work with. They're the people who swindle allowances of fellow journalists. They're the people who will feel, but he was open-hearted and would always want to see you better, so that the time you've hosted him, you add something to your life that you can allude to him as Tamale Mirundi, having been the person who has connected you. Rest in eternal peace. Joseph Tamale Mirundi
Senior.
Well,
of course, and he does leave Tamale Mirundi Jr., who also managed to share this information on his social media platforms. But that said, Chantal Oliver Canada is with us this morning in Studio B. I would like to take her part on what she has observed from Tamale Mirundi over the past years of his time on earth. Good morning, Chantal.
Good morning, Sonko. It is indeed a sad morning for those that are in the media fraternity, but especially those that looked up to Tamale, but those that actually got to interact with the kind of wisdom he had. And sometimes he would say things in a seemingly joking way, but if you really scrutinize them, you would realize they hold water. I will agree with Cherabo that when it comes to personal branding, he had branded himself a certain way. And please note that this is someone who held an office for 13 years, the Presidential Press Secretary, for 13 years. That should mean something.
Well, he's been there, done that. He has lit so many candles, and unfortunately, it has been God's plan that his candle has finally burnt out.
Right.
And the book of Job, chapter 1, verse 21 says, "The Lord gave and the Lord has taken away." May the name of the Lord be praised, and may his soul continue to rest in eternal peace. That is Tamale Mirundi Senior. Now, that said, we do have news coming your way here on Good Morning Uganda, but first we start off from the local scene to see what has been making headlines. District leaders who are also joining the cause, saying this is not something that we should be considering. But please do not. It is a 50-50 kind of discussion, because there are those who are backing the same move by Parliament or the same proposal and the announcement that was made by the Speaker to Parliament, as much as there are those who are saying it shouldn't be something to be considered. Now, this is the conversation open for discussion this morning. Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono and Chantal Oliver Kandinda are with me on this particular discussion. Robert with me in Studio A as Chantal joins in Studio B. But you, our viewer, can be part of the same by sharing your opinion on the proposed parliamentary or on the proposed regional parliamentary seatings. We need to pick your view or your opinion as a citizen, as a voter. What is your view? What do you think of this particular move by Parliament to take the Parliament to the people, to carry the Parliament to various regions within the country? Robert, this particular issue has become one open for discussion. But my viewer this morning would wish to know, what was the move, what was the major move behind Parliament coming up with this discussion, rather with this intention of taking Parliament to the regions?
Well, first, it is not this 11th Parliament that is the first Parliament to have this idea. One would say it has just matured if it sees the light of day anyway, in the 11th Parliament. I remember the late Speaker, Jacob Olanya, talked about this several times when he was saying, we need to take Parliament to the people. And if I disturb very well our constitution, there is even what we refer to as regional parliaments. Now, we do not have this per se. We may have these district councils, we have these councillors and all that, but actually that is not what we should be having. Now, when we talk about these regional parliaments, the regional parliaments, it's simply moving the entire parliament to a particular region for 3 days, because initially we are going to be 2, but they said let's make them 3 for us to have meaningful debate. Now, that particular region, for those 3 days, only its matters are what is going to be discussed, not the usual business we see here in Parliament. If you are in northern Uganda, in Gulu City, have the speaker and the entire parliament sit there. Now, members of parliament from that region will have an upper hand to deliberate, to put forward. District leaders, you know, the district councillors, the gallery by then will be filled with district leaders, the local leadership there, to raise the problems of this particular region. Usually committees, and I'm sure a number of committees now in northern Uganda, the Committee on Health, the Committee on Education, to gather issues that are going to be presented to these parliamentary sittings in this particular region. So it is focusing on this particular region for 3 days. Now, then later, when all this is captured, and it will influence the budget allocation also for these particular regions, the key biting matters. Remember, Sonko, in this parliament, I think a person is given 3 minutes on the floor.
How much they exceed.
And then one can come with a matter of national concern. Then you see, focus sometimes the number of issues to discuss. But now they are saying, let's first take parliament to the people.
Okay.
Let them have the feel, but let them have this opportunity to air out. If we specifically delegate 3 days of Uganda's parliament to discuss issues of northern Uganda, the answer is full. To influence, to bring out the voice, the local leadership to come out and speak, to be in the gallery. This is what they're saying. If we do that for northern Uganda, then we go to eastern, then we come to central, then we go to western. Now, core biting issues will be addressed, which may never be, because some were saying, what can we do there that we can't do here? The way business runs here is going to be very different from these particular days. Only matters of that particular region. So these are what we are looking at as regional parliamentary sittings, that the Speaker of Parliament and a number of members of Parliament feel that yes, the time is now and this must happen, and they will greatly improve on representation and budget allocation of Ugandans, because each region, the 4 regions, will be given same time, same process of handling issues for that particular region.
Well, Chantal, let me get to you now. When you look at some of the people who are against the regional parliamentary sittings, many are giving, reasons as to why. But you get to realize that there is one major factor that many are still citing as why these regional parliamentary sittings should have not been considered even in the first place. What are some of those?
Well, the major reason being cited is that this looks like is going to be a waste of taxpayers' money, and that is the very first reason being put forward. The next reason being put forward is that we seem to be mixing up our priorities and knowing what should be prioritized and at what point. This is now also this is also in connection to the fact that a lot of money is going to be spent. And I saw someone who said that farmers demand government about 56 billion Uganda shillings, but then again, isn't that almost the amount of money that is going to be spent on hosting these regional sittings? And again, when you think about it like that, you realize that these individuals are saying, listen, let's realign our priorities, because the regional sittings are not priority at this very moment. But then again, Sonko, how many districts do we have in the country? And when you talk about the regions, you're not talking about literally all the regions. No, they've been handpicked. It's a few of them.
Because we have West Nile, we also have Northeastern. There are quite a number.
Quite a number, but they will not be as extensive as ideally what they seem to want to achieve with this proposal that is being put forward. And that is why some of the parliamentarians seem to say it does not make sense. It's going to even increase on spending, because listen, an MP who is going to drive from Chisoro, for example, to go to West Nile is going to have to request for more fuel than they should be using in the first place. And that is not going to be making sense at all, because Parliament is going to incur these costs, which are going to go back to supplementary budgets and increasing budgets. And at the end of the day, you realize that our focus is now going to be on we are spending on these MPs to have these regional sittings, but we could have prioritized better. Someone else actually said that is not going to solve the problems of the Ugandans. What Ugandans need is good service delivery, and that can be achieved without doing these regional sittings.
Well, and when you look at the figures in question here, is that every regional sitting will be costing 5 billion Ugandan shillings, totaling up to 20 billion Ugandan shillings for the 4 regional sittings. Chirabo, you've mentioned something about bringing Parliament to the people. Why is it important for us to get these regional sittings? And is it the right call anyway?
Well, first, sometimes I doubt if Ugandans are honest to themselves to begin with. We've had the NAM summit. We had CHOGM. We've had a number of summits come to Uganda. Now, some of the people I see saying these regional parliamentary sittings are wasted taxpayers' money. They have given these reasons I'm going to give when we're having these functions. Imagine the number of guests coming to sleep in Uganda, eat Ugandan food, maybe starting up even businesses in Uganda, opportunities and connections. Now, Parliament has over 500 members of Parliament, not so? Just imagine if these members of, let me begin with the simple ones.
To be more precise, so, 557 seats available.
557, though you can never have all of them suffice. Now, imagine all that number. Let's just take 500. 500 members of Parliament. I said I'm beginning with the easiest to understand. 500 members of Parliament go to Gulu City. They are going to be there for 3 days. They are going to spend on accommodation. They are going to spend on food, restaurants around, recreation, businesses around. Members of Parliament have money. Some even purchase land, purchase property, begin businesses because they'll have seen the potential. Because, so let me tell you, there is a person who has been born in Central Region and has never crossed to Gulu and is a member of Parliament, but this person is discussing national matters with not so much knowledge. He has never crossed Karuma. Now, when someone brings issues of Northern Uganda, even when he needs their support, they don't have a picture of Northern Uganda. They don't understand Northern Uganda. Now, exposure to our members of Parliament to better understand. I want to tell you there was a time I was in Northern Uganda, the time of nodding disease syndrome, when it was at its peak. Honorable Beatrice Anywa, now minister, took us to Northern Uganda to see. But the poverty I saw, that their condition, but this thing was being discussed on the floor of Parliament, and I would see members of Parliament, some of them, not all, not taking the matter that, because they have not seen it when we talk about the biting poverty, some of these regions. So, a member of Parliament is elected.
Want to cut you short.
Is elected by
Shadal is trying to cut you short, and
I really want to cut you short, Robert.
Why don't I first drive all these three, then you can come in later.
Okay.
Yeah. So, a member of Parliament is elected by a constituency, but he represents a nation when he gets there, because he discusses issues, national issues. So exposure is very important. That when you go to these 4 regions, the locals are now going to get a boost in their income. These people can make investments. Now, that is on the lighter note. 2, you see, I talked about earlier that focusing on these particular regions, we focus on the north. For 3 good days, only issues of Northern Uganda. They are jotted, they are only answered. The people are discussing them on an informed point of view, because when sectorial parliamentary committees are already in these regions, gathering facts, observing issues to deliberate on. That is very important, Sonko. It doesn't happen in this Parliament. But I want to go on the issue of finances spent. Now, Parliamentary budget is about 900 billion. You're talking about 20 billion for all the 4. And people are speaking, I'm sorry to say this, I've had some politicians, and one said, he who has not researched has no right to speak. You see, they are not looking at a supplementary budget. This is already money allocated to Parliament. Now, when you say this money should be used to buy medicines, Sonko, the parliamentary budget does not buy medicine. The parliamentary budget does not work on roads.
Let me get to Chantal, Robert. Chantal, you had something you wanted to say, and I want you to say it now before Robert completes with what he's submitting.
You see, I was listening to what Robert was saying, and I was thinking to myself, imagine you get a job, and in your job, you know, it's more about service. And for all we know, for our politicians, service is very important. You get in there to serve Ugandans. And now, you are talking about, someone who is supposed to maybe second a proposal to construct a particular road somewhere, or for work to be done maybe in Karamoja sub-region, and this person is not familiar with the Karamoja sub-region. As an individual, what initiative have you made to be researched enough for you to be able to go in Parliament and have information that you get that is going to enable you second a decision that you are very well aware of? Should you be spoon-fed to that level, then why were you elected in there? Were you elected to just sit and speak, or you elected to actually go deep down, get these issues, bring them to the table? It still doesn't make sense to me that we have to spoon feed some of these individuals, even things they could have done. So what does their salary do? Partially, well, I think we can, I think let's work together here. We could say, maybe let's do a 50-50 or something, but we cannot say you're going to Parliament, you're going to be fueled, you're going to be paid a salary, there is an allowance for what, then there is the service awards for those that get, and then you have to be given transport to go wherever you have to go. Yes, I understand you're on duty, but again, are we seeing what is happening here? I don't know if I'm driving my point home.
Yes, I get you, Chantal, when you say that the element of exposure and better understanding situations, a member of Parliament should do research at that particular bit of it. But now here comes an opportunity where, yes, you could do research. And I must say, I want to quote Honorable Semujunganda. I was watching a certain clip, and no doubt it was him, who said that we have a challenge that a number of our MPs may not do research, don't do research. And at the end of the day, we find difficulty in some of these issues. But also remember, if you see a situation physically, you look at the plight of these people, you live among them, you move around them. You better speak with authority. That's why, Sonko, if you were there when something is happening, if you witnessed something,
okay,
and if you're reading about something or hearing from a friend, you're better informed with evidence where even you could have participated. So this exposure is very important. But I was on the factor of finances.
Okay.
Now,
because one would wonder, why don't we just do a regional tour instead of a regional sitting?
Now,
it cuts the budget.
Now, if you talk of a regional tour, the important thing is when you tour and just move through a region, yes, you could drive through and see. But here we are saying, we are discussing issues of this particular region where we shall have the district councillors maybe have an opportunity. We have a team, the committees are there gathering critical information. So we debate in that particular area. But I'm still going back to the issue of finances, because many people have put this, that this is a lot of money. One, let's get this clear. Man allocated to Parliament does not do things that are not parliamentary work or parliamentary duties.
Then
so stop saying that this money should have paid farmers. Stop saying this money should have bought medicine. This money is part of the 900 billion allocated to our Parliament per particular financial year.
Takes me back to the question. Why do we have those billions of shillings allocated That means we need to go back down to how this money is allocated, because we have priorities that we are missing out, yet they are directly affecting Ugandans. The same individuals you want to go in their region and see, even if you go there, you're not going to solve their problems, because guess what? Even when they are brought to Parliament, they are not solved in most cases. So what are you saying when you talk about the money that is given to Parliament cannot do something else? No, let's go back to allocation. It can be allocated better. How about that?
I do have some comments from viewers here. This one says, good morning, UBC. I'm keenly following the discussion of regional parliamentary sittings. Now, my first question is this regional parliamentary sitting provided for in our constitution? If yes, I rest my case. And if not, why now? Is there any budgetary allocation for the regional parliamentary sittings, he asks. And if regional parliamentary sittings will deliver solutions to the problems of people, why then have people representatives in parliament? Joseph Ekosai. Thank you, Joseph, for that. And we have this one saying, good morning, UBC. Regional sittings will disorganize Uganda. Let them be together in one house in order to solve economic problems. And this one is, good morning, UBC. I'm Bernard from Zombo in West Nile. I'm saying this regional sittings has nothing looking at the road leading to West Nile, yet we have members of parliament who are doing nothing in parliament. What are they going to do in northern Uganda different from what they have been doing in Kampala?
Let them go home.
And this other one says, good morning, UBC. If some members of parliament are complaining about taxpayers' money, if parliament is moved around, how about those representing those areas who come to Kampala and represent their people? You mean they are not spent on? Some are just scared about the distance, but not the money. Now this one is siding with parliament. Parliament is moved to take the sittings to the regions. Now this one says, please don't go. Save that for the very poor of the people of Uganda. No drugs, poor schools, no roads. People are paying heavy taxes. And this one didn't leave their name. And then we also have this one says, good morning, Uganda. Educate Ugandans more about that parliament is paid for every sitting, whether it's Kampala or regional. It is wise to spend 20 billion for regional sitting so that to do a comprehensive oversight of the Ugandan trillions budget. Everything is politically motivated. We miss nationalism. It's relevant and essential to do regional sittings. Opposition opposes this and has instilled a bad narrative on it, but it is naturally good for this country. You didn't leave your name, but thank you for your submission. Lastly, I'll take one. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How I wish this started way back, because whatever discussed in the plenary is very formal. The English used is too sophisticated. There is absenteeism, which is easy since some members of parliament don't feel concerned about other constituencies and the challenges and so on. So the system is totally leaving out the electorates, yet they are the very people they represent. But when sittings are taken to regions, first of all, the people feel honored. Secondly, they are given access to an open parliament sitting to air out their challenges fully, because an individual may leave out some. And but please do note that individuals will only attend the parliament but not give. It's more like what happens in parliament here. You can go and sit in the gallery.
Yes, you're not having
the local
members.
leaders of these areas are going to be given opportunity.
But
from what the MPs are saying.
Now, if you have what is happening, you see, with decentralization, it took power closer to the people. Now, your representative, who is going to have a chance to have a say in this regional parliament, is the person you should give your views to pass them on. And I liked one of the viewer who said every parliamentary sitting, money is spent. Now, the politicking in this is just a level of defiance. And also, I must let Ugandans know. You see,
in a minute,
the money is allocated for inland travel and not so much. And it has been on record, even when you go to parliament, that most members of parliament return that money and choose not to go. Do you know why, Sonko? Because a member of parliament, I think, is given 400 per day. Now, to them, they will tell you this money, where you sleep, what it takes. That's why many of them deliberately fear
Chantal, moving
to
forward,
travel.
what needs to be done?
Look at this as little money, but not the goodness inside it.
Okay, Robert. Chantal, in just 30 seconds, what needs to be done moving forward for our parliament?
We need to get back down to why is it really necessary and is it sustainable for us to have these sittings? And I've noticed some MPs are even saying some district leaders will not be involved. So why are we even going ahead with such a move if we're not going to involve the stakeholders that should be assisting in planning for our population in general?
Well, and that does it for our newsreel. But please do note that 20 billion Ugandan shillings was budgeted to spend during this particular regional sittings. 5 billion for each region. That is the northern region, eastern region, western region, and central. For the northern region, which will be the very first, as of starting 29th of August and the 30th, Gulu City will be hosting the regional parliamentary sitting at the Kaunda grounds in Badege Laibi division. Then other sittings will be held in eastern
Which has
Uganda.
already even been fenced off. Development has already kicked in that area.
Okay. And other sittings will be in Mbale City for the eastern region, as well as in western region, that is in Mbarara, and then central Masaka district. And then for the viewer out there who has been sending in your comments, thank you very much. Kenneth from Fort Portal as well. I see your comment here. Thank you very much for being part of our discussion. Coming up is Irene Allen Namisango with the GMU Tourism Express. Good morning.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Nyati Motion Pictures brings you Tuko Pamoja, Kingdoms of Mountain Rwenzori segment. What are the dynamics of the peoples occupying the foothills of the famous mountains of the moon? What brings them together?
One way of identifying ourselves would be the Rwenzori mountain,
Where the God happy dwells.
In Uganda, we are called Bakonjo, Bakonzo, Baira. In Congo, we are called Banande.
Ababuisa barukiro bwingi n'abamba barukiro bwingi bali mu Congo.
The Basongora community is a very old community here, Western Uganda and Eastern Congo.
So both Kasese, Toro, were part of Nyoro Kitara Kingdom.
We are similar people.
we are one. Use that word, pamoja.
It will be showing in Nibundubugyo at Anders Hotel on Friday 16th August and Kasese at Uhuru Plus Hotel on Saturday 17th August 2024, starting at 4:30 p.m. To get a ticket, call 0778 787 660. Tuko Pamoja?
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Uganda being the Pearl of Africa, it is blessed with the big game. What are the big game? These are the 5 most or strongest animals in the world. When we talk about the big game, we are definitely talking about the lions, the king of the jungle, the buffaloes, elephants, rhinos, and the leopard. Today we are blessed that we are exploring the kings of the jungle and those other lions. We are at UWEC, the only, okay, not the only, but the major exosuit that we have in the country. It is a home to 13 lions. Some of them have been bred from here, and others were just rescued from different areas, maybe like Sophie, who was rescued from Action Falls and brought here. She was hand-raised. But something that is most amazing about these lions at UWEC is the hand raising of these lions. Did you know that you can hand raise lions? Like you feed them with formula that is maybe they've made research and known what is contained in the breast milk of a lion, and they get the mixed formula that can be fed on by these lions. So you hand raise lions, and maybe at about 3 months or 4 months, then that is the time they start introducing them to maybe minced meat and introducing them to soft meat. But it is exciting to know that you can actually rescue a lion from the wild and then hand raise it, and you feed it to see that it doesn't die out. However, we cannot say that there are not cases where lions have been hand raised and they still fail to make it, but this is one way that shows that there is a lot as humans that we can do to conserve the environment, but also to preserve the wildlife for the future generation. So here at UWEC, you see how lions are so much taken care of, the concern that they have, the medication they get, the concern, the environment, how they clean their places where they stay. It is just exciting to know that there is an electricity in Uganda where they take care of this wildlife, these wild lions, and they live to their full capacity as they would live in the wild. So if you haven't taken time to explore or to visit UWEC, this is one place that you're sure, you do not doubt that when you come here at UWEC, you're definitely going to see these lions. Hi, Amy.
Hello, how are you?
I'm okay, how are you?
Fine,
It's nice to know that we are going to have some good interactions and discussions about the species at UWEC.
Yes, my name is Aine Magara Anwell, and I'm a zookeeper here at Uganda Wildlife Conservation Education Center. I've been here for 3 years, keeping lions, rhinos, different wildlife. Lions are among the top game people travel across counties to look at. They're magnificent animals. They are associated with power. They are kings of jungles. They are roars. Their size. They are very, very magnificent animals to look at. And most tourists on every safari, in every conservation area, they look forward to looking at the lions, and also them being the biggest cats that we have in Africa. They are also associated with teamwork because they usually hunt in very, very huge groups. But also, lions are also, the fact that males do less of the hunting and females do most of the hunting, it excites people that the females do most of the work, but the males eat first. Yeah, just like most African homes, I guess, or most homes.
That is unfair.
I guess so. Yeah. So the breeding of lions outside their natural environment, something not very challenging, because for animals just like people, in order to breed, you should have food, and the right sexual ratios. So if you have a male and a female and they are feeding well and they are well cared for, they will breed. And usually lions, the females reach sexual maturity at around 4 years. Males go up to 5 to 6 years. However, those in captivity reach sexual maturity at a very early age. We've seen male lions like Africa reaching sexual maturity at even 3 years, being able to father children or being able to father cubs. And the reason being that when they are here in a captive environment, they eat on a daily basis, so they mature very fast compared to their counterparts in the wild. So they can easily breed in captivity than in the wild. But also in the captive environment, all conditions are controlled. It gets sick, immediately intervene. And most people ask me, how do they medicate lions, their lions. So mostly we medicate through food. Depending on the condition or depending on the assessment of the doctors, you can either through food or you can put them to sleep and you'll work on them. Yeah. So it is, but also the rate at which lions die in the natural environment is alarming. Almost 1 out of 3 die. They don't reach maturity. But here you can have 5 cubs and all the cubs grow because they will eat, the mother will breastfeed. But even if the mother doesn't want to breastfeed, we do what we call hand raising. Some of the lions here have been hand raised on formulas. There is a formula for cats called S-Brack. So some of the ones that are rescued, or sometimes the female lions in captivity have what we call poor mother abilities. They fail to raise a young one. So we come in as humans and we hand raise them. A lion like Ali Upareria, he was hand raised and
experience. You be a zookeeper for a day. Well, giving you a travel tip for today, it is quite simple. The fact that we are in the zoo, we are still telling you that when you visit such places, please make sure that you listen. Listen to your instructors, listen to your educators. Some of the times that you visit these places, they can tell you, don't go here. This place is restricted, but you also insist to go there. But if something happens to you, so just make sure that you listen to your instructors or your guide as you explore the beautiful wildlife species that reside in UWEC. Thank you so much. We still have a lot that is coming in from UWEC. We shall take you around the whole zoo, just at the comfort of your desk. Thank you so much.
Well, you can only imagine being a tour guide for the day, and that can as well be a dating option for many of the young couples that we do have in Uganda. I was following a conversation recently on X where a lady shared and asked, don't we have any other date ideas that we can use, because she's tired of food dates. She has gone to restaurants, gone to hotels. Maybe you can go to the Uganda Wildlife Education Center. Roughly 200,000 Ugandan shillings can be spent there, and you have a good day. And you know, you try to see the beauty that we do have in terms of tourism and the animals at the display at the Uganda Wildlife Education Center, formerly known as the zoo. Now, off to business. I am here for that, pretty much. But I wonder, when was the last time, or when was the first time you ever attended the international fair or trade fair at the UMA exhibition hall? Because now, this year, the 30th of its kind will be returning, and the Uganda Manufacturers Association did announce this yesterday. Now, this event is scheduled for the 2nd to the 10th of October at the UMA showgrounds, and it will be celebrated under the theme celebrating 30 years of industrial excellence. Now, the Uganda Manufacturers Association, or UMA, shows that this 3-decade journey has brought quite a number of achievements for the industry players. Now, since its inception in 1993, the trade fair has evolved from a pioneering platform which has been showcasing local Ugandan manufacturers to a major international business event that now attracts exhibitors from more than 30 countries worldwide. Now, despite these significant achievements that you get to look at, you as well realize that Uganda's manufacturing industry still faces quite a number of challenges. This is according to Dr. Ezra Muhumuza, whom you're seeing on the screen. Now, Dr. Ezra Muhumuza is the current executive director of the Uganda Manufacturers Association. Now, the trade fair remains a key opportunity for manufacturers to further showcase their products, gather feedback, conduct market testing and build brands, as well as establishing networks over the years. It also facilitates the exchange of knowledge within the industry. And also, please do note, it is also a tourism kind of thing for many of the economics and commerce students in schools. There are quite a number of schools that take their students, especially especially those offering entrepreneurship, those offering economics, those offering commerce, to go out there and try to tour, but do what you could call a field study tour at the expo. This is a trade fair that attracts quite a number of traders in Uganda who have the chance to exhibit, showcase what they have, the kind of services they offer, build networks, share contacts with available customers, because it is the same exhibition that attracts thousands of Ugandans. You can only imagine a full week of exhibiting, a full week where Ugandans enter and try to buy some goods that also come at a cheap. So for 30 years of celebrating excellence, there are lots of other things that you can look at in regards to the challenges and problems associated, but having an expo running for 30 years is worth a celebration. Now, away from that, we head to Kumi district, because the Kumi district leadership has commissioned 12 mini irrigation systems that will provide water for animal rearing and crop production seasonally, especially during the tough dry seasons. Now, the government has partnered with the World Bank to enhance both crop and animal production in Kumi. And when you look at the 300 million shillings irrigation project, which is now in place in Kumi district, farmers will benefit from a constant water supply for both animals and crop production. It takes me back to one of the key elements in President Museveni's speech at the Soroti Youth Day celebrations, that is at the Soroti Koa Teachers College, Primary Teachers College, where he noted that crop production, rather crop growing, as well as engaging in commercial farming is one of the best ways for people to get money. And he also shared an example of a gentleman who was there to give us what you could call a testimony of listening to President Museveni's advice. And he's a gentleman who is employing quite a number of Ugandans in Soroti, and he's the same gentleman who also adopted to commercial agriculture. And that same gentleman further revealed that he's earning millions of poultry. Now, when you look at something like that, and not only focusing on crop production, but also going ahead to join into, let's say, pastoralism, and then trying to also engage in other activities like poultry, and to earn more money as well from the same kind of craft. Now, Kumi RDC Ahamanda Washaki said that the project is a cost sharing initiative which will be funded by the government, and the beneficiaries from Nyero Town Council and Kanapa Sub-County say reliable water supply will help on increased crop yields and livestock production. Now, the installation of these irrigation systems is expected to accelerate farming and ensure food security. Now, that said, with this establishment, the irrigation systems, the farmers in Kumi are assured of stable animal and food production. Now, animal production as well as those into animal farming, many of those within the eastern region of Uganda, and this will be a great opportunity for many of those in Kumi district to earn more from what they are doing and to engage more in other productive ventures. Well, as we are finalizing with business this morning, we turn our focus on the forex market to see how different currencies have been faring on the exchange, courtesy of the Central Bank of Uganda. Please do note that these exchange rates are updated 3 times a day. But we start off with the US dollar, because as of Tuesday morning, the US dollar was buying at 3,725.00 shillings while selling at 3,735.00 shillings. By midday, the US dollar was buying at 3,725 Ugandan shillings, same as it did at the opening, while selling at 3,735.00. Now, closing time saw the US dollar buy at 3,725.09 Ugandan shillings, while selling at 3,735.09 shillings, and the Great Britain pound was buying at 4,765.14 shillings while selling at 4,777.93. The euro was buying at 4,075.62 while selling at 4,086.56 The Kenyan shilling was buying at 28.88 shillings while selling at 28.95 shillings. And the Tanzanian shilling was buying at 1.37 shillings while selling at 1.38 shillings. The South African rand was buying at 204.24 shillings while selling at 204.79 shillings. That is how you will find, most probably, from various forex bureaus, how the Ugandan shilling is faring on the exchange. Tomorrow will be Thursday. I'll be back with more business updates. Chantal Oliver Kandinda is here with the traffic updates. Good morning.
Once again, I'm here to make sure that I let you know how different routes are faring as you are trying to make your way to different destinations. Now, listen, if you are someone that uses Gaba Road, let's see how we can get you to town today. Now, on Gaba Road, just small hold-ups in there, slow movement, but nothing much for you to worry about. However, Senyonga Road has a bit of traffic, especially when you are trying to use Senyonga Road to join Gaba Road. You'll be finding traffic on there. Now, when I take Muyenga Road from Gaba Road, take Muyenga Road. Muyenga Road is safe for you to use if you are trying to make your way to any part of Muyenga. Bukasa Close has no traffic at all. Tankil Road has no traffic. Chironde Road, no traffic. And Barnabas Road as well has no traffic. And while you are in luck this morning, you are able to move comfortably and freely. Now, I went to Mbogo Road. Mbogo Road has no traffic at all. As you can see, you will be safe to navigate and make your way to wherever you're going in the shortest time possible. As you can see now, when you get to Mbogo Road, you can choose either to join Namuongo Road or join 8th Street. But if you are joining Namuongo Road, you are also okay to move. There is no traffic at all, unless if you branch off from Namuongo Road and join the main access road. That is where you'll be finding slow movement, but short of that, there is no traffic. 8th Street has no traffic until you get to the junction that takes you to the roundabout, or what we call the Mukwano roundabout. And if you're joining Mukwano Road from 8th Street, you'll be finding no traffic, as going has no traffic, unless if you are joining Press House Road, it's where you'll be finding a bit of traffic, especially shortly after that junction. But when you move further inside Press House Road, you'll be finding just slow movement at the junction that takes you to Prince Badru Kakungulu Road. But after that, there is no traffic at all. Now, when we get back, if you're joining Molago, if you're joining Mukwano roundabout, there is a bit of slow movement, but nothing for you to worry about. As you can see, 6th Street has no traffic at all at this point. Access Road also has no traffic, as you are now joining the Ginger Road lights. Station Road has no traffic, usually used as an access route, has no traffic, but please do note this is a one-way road. Now, this when I join Access Road and also join Ginger Road, I'll be finding no traffic at this time. There's no traffic at all, just slow movement for the junctions that are there. The Winton Street has no traffic at all. Nile Avenue, no traffic. However, when you get to the junction, to the roundabout, the first roundabout that has Oasis, you'll be finding a bit of traffic for you who is coming from Yusuf Oleh Road trying to join that roundabout. But after that, wherever you're going from there is actually safe for you to use. Nile Avenue is free movement all the way, and unless if you're branching off to Colville Street, this is where you'll be finding slow movement as you are trying to join Kimathi Avenue, but still nothing to worry about, as you are still safe. Now, the roundabout that comes from Nile Avenue and Kimathi Avenue, and also leads you to Speak Road, leads you to Shimoni Road, is free for you to navigate. There is no problem at all. But if you look at the Square 2, that roundabout that has the Square 2 has Tanan Avenue, you'll be finding a bit of slow movement inside the roundabout. But also when you are trying to join the roundabout from Tanan Avenue, you'll be finding traffic on there. But if you are exiting onto Lumumba Avenue, there is no traffic at all. Buganda Road is safe for you to use if you're using that side. Nakasero Road has no traffic. and as you can see, you'll be able to move through smoothly. George Street also has no traffic. Now Wilson Road as well, there is no traffic in there. Benchiwanuka Street, now this is for you who is going downtown, real downtown. Benchiwanuka Street at the moment has just bits and pieces of slow movement, but generally okay for you to use. I cannot guarantee that this will be the same in the next probably 15 or 20 minutes. It's likely to change. Namirembe Road has slow movement, and but if you are going that side, you are okay. There's not too much traffic for you to worry about. You'll be wherever you are supposed to be in the shortest time possible. Martin Road also has no traffic. Matia Mulumba Road, no traffic. And the only time you'll be finding traffic is if you are onto Gaddafi Road. Gaddafi Road has traffic and slow movement. And if you are using it to join Nsalo Road, you're going to be looking at a bit of traffic, especially when you are from the junction, and that is where you'll be finding traffic. But generally, Gaddafi Road has just slow movement as you are making your way down into town, and you'll be finding no traffic. But Mapabana Road has no traffic at all. This is usually an access route that is used for people who want to join Aga Khan Road, also join Nachivubo Road. It is one of the access routes they use. And as you can see, the only time you'll be finding traffic on Nachivubo Road is when you are trying to join Chagwa Road, of which Chagwa Road is mad with just slow movement, but nothing for you to worry about. Now downtown, that is the side that has Watoto Church, you'll be finding a bit of traffic at the junction that takes you to Kampala Road, but after that there will be just slow movement and nothing much for you to be worried about. And that's it for our traffic updates this morning. I wish you safe travels as you make your way to the different destinations. Coming up is Good Morning Uganda agenda. Stay with us.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by...
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Nyati Motion Pictures brings you Tuko Pamoja, Kingdoms of Mountain Rwenzori segment. What are the dynamics of the peoples occupying the foothills of the famous mountains of the moon? What brings them together?
One way of identifying ourselves would be the Rwenzori mountain,
where the God happy dwells.
In Uganda, we are called Bakonjo, Bakonzo, Baira. In Congo, we are called Banande.
Ababuisa barukiro wingi. Na abamba barukiro wingi. Bali mu Congo.
The Basongora community is a very old community here, Western Uganda and Eastern Congo.
So both Kasese, Toro, were part of Bunyoro Kitara Kingdom.
We are similar people.
We are one. Use that word pamoja.
It will be showing in Nibundubugyo at Anders Hotel on Friday 16th August and Kasese at Uhuru Plus Hotel on Saturday 17th August 2024, starting at 4:30 p.m. To get a ticket, call 0778 787 660. Tuko pamoja?
Juko. Yo. Wachikuwa. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the Parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. We want to you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief, and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government, designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Actually, Zono Industrial is one of the presidential initiatives which is brought here in Achule land to skill our youth. The skilling is free of charge. What you really need, you have to be within the age of 18 to 35. They don't need any requirements apart from being willing. You have to be willing, and a youth who is willing to get the skills. The courses we have started with only 4. That is tailoring, hairdressing, carpentry, and welding. First intake, we registered 212. We admitted 212 students from 10 administrative units of Acholi. These students, they recruited them from different districts within the Acholi sub-region. If we continue with this cooperation, many beneficiaries will pass through us, and they will go with enough skills and non-skills which will change them and later bring them into an economy. We shall really fight poverty in that way.
A new dawn on Behind the Headlines with me, Timothy Nyangweso, every Wednesday live in our studios in the heart of Kampala. We have conversations that have analysis, explanation, but not every truth is fact and not every fact is truth. Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
All on your public broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
107.3 Kampala, 96.9 Mbale, 95.7 Jinja, 98.6 Soroti. You are all covered.
UBC Mtego. UBC Mtego.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by. You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100*21# and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Juko. Yo. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the Parish development model, PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief, and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government, designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better.
PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Lachuli Zonal Industrial is
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
A lovely morning to you and much thanks for being with us on UBC TV. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Agenda. I'm Robert Chirabo, but that is in case you've just joined, because we are here from 6:30. The fantastic four, the great men and women behind the cameras, not forgetting the technical team that ensures we come to you live every weekday. I cannot forget to thank those people. They do a great job so that we come straight to you wherever you are, in your hotel room, at home, in your bedroom, those that are watching us through various social media platforms. Thank you very much. Now, today I'm going to be discussing issues of money. I love money, and I know you love money, be honest. But we are looking at issues of money in unity. And when I talk about issues of money in unity, now you know I'm talking about the cooperative movement. And we want to look at circles in community transformation. And a case this time you're having the teachers' circle in Uganda. Now, teachers have had a number of challenges, but they have also been able to move through many or overcome a number of these challenges because of the Mwalimu Cooperative Union, a teachers' circle, those on the government payroll, that came together and they are able to improve their livelihoods and better live through this circle. First, join me, welcome my guests. I have Mr. Cooperatives. He happens to be the General Secretary, Uganda Cooperative Alliance, but the other name is Mr. Cooperatives, and none other than Ivan Asimwe, a man who is very passionate. When he speaks about cooperatives, I'm sure you're going to see that he speaks from the bottom of his heart, and he pours out the language, the love for cooperatives. Most welcome.
Thank you so much, moderator, and good morning, all our viewers. Pleasure to be here.
Have cooperative become a religion to you?
I am telling you, I'm part and parcel of it. You cannot separate us.
You cannot separate
No.
it. Then I'll go to my extreme end, where I have Okecho Paul from Mwalimu Sacco or Mwalimu Cooperative Union. Paul, you're most welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here and inform the teacher fraternity that there is a fund for you and you can make it through the scope of the country. Thank you.
That is very interesting. There is a fund for you and you can make it through this fund. Now, I will go direct to circles in transformation of communities. Now, I'll begin with the GS. When you talk about circles, this has been around for some time. And at one time, I remember almost every government minister, RDC, would go to communities and tell them, form a circle, there is money for you. Form a circle, there is money for you. However, whether this was right or wrong, I put the ball in your hands.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. And as usual, Ivan Asimwe, the General Secretary of Uganda Cooperative Alliance, which is the overall apex body for registered cooperative societies, inclusive of circles. Now, a circle is a savings and credit cooperative organization. In other words, it's a financial cooperative because we have so many types and forms of cooperatives. So you talk about the financial cooperatives, these are savings and credit cooperative organizations. You talk about agriculture, production and marketing, energy cooperatives, transport cooperatives, housing cooperatives, energy, health, and others. There are so many, and in the country currently we have over 45,000 registered cooperative societies serving over 18 million Ugandans. This is the largest constituency. Like my friend will talk about teachers. Teachers are so many in the whole country. Now, you talk about circles, the history. They began a long time ago, around 1840s there, globally. Why? Because people realized that they needed to save. Save little, get some credit, and continue to move. And they started in Europe. Then in Africa here, as Father John was a Catholic priest from Ireland. So as he was in Ghana, he established or he started the saving scheme, because him being from Ireland and having gone to Canada for his studies, he's found out that in Canada, people were having the saving schemes, especially for the retirement fund. Then he came and introduced the same idea in Ghana. And then, since then, you see the whole model spreading across Africa. Now in Uganda here, around 1970 there, because of the economic crisis during the time of President Idi Amin, when there was economic crisis, then especially people within the urban centers in Kampala here, they sat down and started thinking of the saving schemes, the alternatives, because the banks ideally were not helping them. Most of them had even collapsed, including the Bank of India. So eventually, they formed the saving schemes that later became savings and credit, and formed UKUSCU, which is a union, Uganda Cooperative Savings and Credit Union, in 1972. Now, since then, we see circles moving on. Now, in the 1990s, around 1995, 96, 97 there, the government of Uganda, UNDP, Uganda Cooperative Alliance had gone to Bangladesh, and they studied the village bank model. The village bank model was the other side, that people within a certain village would have a saving scheme. For them, they were calling them banks. So when they came here, they said, this model works very good. With the support of government and UNDP, they started rolling out the model in the country. That is why you find these old bigger circles initially were called village banks. For me, the time I entered, 15th of March 2003, the circles were called village banks. Rubabo was called Rubabo Village Bank, not circle. Then issues came up with the central bank. The central bank said, no, you are not allowed to use the word bank unless you are regulated. So the name immediately changed from village banks to savings and credit cooperative organizations. So for people who just go there and start talking about circles, you need to read the history. What is the originality? Who started this model? Why was this model started? Now, the model that you see was using in 1990s is far different from what the politicians use. You see the model of cooperatives, you don't need to tell Chirabo that you form and I give you money. That's not a cooperative. That is something different. What you are supposed to do is community sensitization. You teach the people for them to know that yes, there is a problem, or there is an opportunity. Take an example of teachers. If you are to look at the number of teachers in this country and take a study on who have access to affordable and appropriate finance, I'm very careful with those words, appropriate and affordable finance. We have commercial banks and MFIs, but the challenge we have in the country is access to affordable and appropriate finance. The cost of borrowing is very high, and even the money you get is not appropriate. In other words, it is not in tandem with the gestation period of most of our businesses. You get money today, you are growing coffee, where you are supposed to harvest after 3 years, but next month in September, you first pay, you are paying the first installment. The question is, where are you expecting to get this installment? So it is not appropriate. So based on that, then communities started asking questions. So what do we do? We have realized we don't have money. We don't have. One time I was here telling you, people like my father did not have any accounts in the banks, and they were businessmen. They were just keeping money under the mattresses. You even get metallic boxes, which is very risky. Someone just comes and carries. But it was very hard for him to move from where he was up to the town, let's say in Mbarara, to go and bank money. So ideally now, based on that gap, this village bank model came in, and the cooperatives, the communities themselves initiated it, not you telling them. You just
give them
yes.
Now here I want to bring in.
Let them understand.
Okay, you have been given us a very rich background
yes.
To the circles, and I believe my viewer now has the right information on formation and why this is very important. Now, Okecho, first of all, let my viewer know more when it comes to the Mwalimu Circle, because it is our case study this morning. What is this? Who are the membership? You know, who joins?
Thank you very much. By name is Okecho Paul. I'm here under the capacity of Walimu Cooperative Union. This is a presidential fund that was put in place to enhance teachers' salaries. We remember way back in 2013, there was a strike. So the only way it would happen was that there was a fund that was put in place by the president. And we give thanks to His Excellency, the President of Uganda, for supporting teachers. So this fund was put to enhance teachers' salaries, or to enhance projects that would give them incomes to continue with life. So one of the things that has really kept Walimu moving on is that we fund the biggest population, employed population in the country. That is the teacher fraternity. And it being that we cannot leave them behind in terms of development, Walimu has come in place to bridge that gap. We all know how much a teacher earns.
Not we all, but we know what teachers.
Okay, thank you. And this fund was put in place to bridge the gap. One is, we all know that we have needs, and we cannot fulfill these needs with only salary. We all know that we have personal ambitions, and this is the fund to fulfill that. We all know that as the teacher fraternity, we need to be together. I'll give an example of Wazalendo. They have strictly moved themselves from the population, and they have formed their own circle. I'll move to police. They are trying to do the same. Why don't we as teachers do the same? We are here as a country. We are here to grow this country. Besides growing the country, we should grow ourselves. Yes. Thank you.
Now, when you talk about the teachers, this is a presidential fund, help us understand. Because listening to Ivan's definition of a circle, okay, you kind of speak like you want the teachers to be part of this circle. Yet I'm aware it's already there. Okay, let's understand properly. Now, when you got this money, is when you formed the circle. Was the circle there before?
Okay, let me.
Is it teacher owned? Because the circle has principles.
Yes.
Do we have all the fundamental principles of a circle, of a cooperative in here?
Yes, that is true. One is the fund was not first in place before Walimu. Walimu, through UNATU, came in place. Now, when this fund, let me give the background. When this fund was put in place, they had to look for who would manage it. Of course, proposals were on ground that one is let microfinance manage it. Still, we the teachers came and said no. If we are the teachers, we can also manage this money. Then through still UNATU, the union, we formed UNATU SACCO. But because of the magnitude of the money, we are talking about 25 billion shillings. Because of the magnitude of the money, we said no. Under the capacity of a SACCO, this cannot be managed. Can we form a secondary cooperative? That is how Walimu Cooperative came in. Now, Walimu Cooperative, at first, we have changed names because of reasons that I will give. But the most recent one was Walimu SACCO's Union. Now, as the name reads, Walimu SACCO's Union, we were funding SACCOs. What would happen was that through the formality of a SACCO, of having members having shares, registering with the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, and you have that certificate, either it is permanent or... So we would advance money through SACCOs. Now, this is how initially SACCOs would request for this money. One is you have your members. Members come up with projects, because we're talking about transformation of communities. Members come up with projects. Now, these projects are put in paper that I want to keep piggery, or I want to start up a piggery thing, kind of. So you bring it on board, we look through it. Now, these SACCOs would bring members with projects. Others say, I want to start up a shop, which is okay because we're looking for income generating projects. Some say, I want to start up piggery. Some say, I want to rear goats. What we would do next was to send out a team to sensitize these members that in line with what you want to start, you know how we start up businesses. We look at a friend is doing very well in poultry, and you also start. You don't know the background checks and the background activity behind it, because you have to buy maize for feeding them, you have to, and these things are costly. So we told them, we had first sensitized them, that was the first step, before we advanced this money. So if there are 50 teachers, and the projects they want to start totals up to 50, let us say Teacher Paul wants to start up poultry of 1 million, Teacher Isaac wants to start up a shop of 1 million, we put that amount, sum up that amount, maybe probably there are 50, that is around 50 million if each
wants a million
shillings. Then we advance this money to the SACCO, where these teachers belong. They receive this fund of 50 million. Now, what the executive, because they are the ones who run the SACCO, what the executives do is to also advance. They are not supposed to hold cash. You're not supposed to go to the bank and withdraw this money, no. You're supposed to advance this money to the next, or the beneficiary person who is starting this project. And we are all aware everyone has an account, so this is supposed to be channeled through the accounts.
Very interesting. They're trying to understand how Mwalimu SACCO here is benefiting and transforming lives of teachers, most of those, or strictly for those on government payroll, in public institutions.
No, not
because I need that clarification.
Not really only government payroll. We are actually even extending this fund to private teachers.
Oh, no.
We are looking at the teacher fraternity.
Because previously, I think there was I remember during COVID when the president promised teachers in private schools money, and they were discussing who is going to handle it. Someone said, but the teachers, there's Mwalimu SACCO. No, that is for those in public institutions. For us, we are in the private, so it doesn't work for us that way. But it's nice to hear that it's an open door.
Maybe if you can allow me to...
Definitely.
If you can allow me to come in and make a rejoinder in submission. You know, Walimu Cooperative Union is a union of secondary nature. And that's why we are here, because Walimu Cooperative Union, by law, it's a member of Uganda Cooperative Alliance. Because Uganda Cooperative Alliance being the apex body, when you go to law, an apex means the cooperative whose membership is restricted to secondary and tertiary only. So, walimu, the teachers' circles cannot be members of UCA by law. They affiliate to a union, which is now walimu. Then walimu affiliates to Uganda Cooperative Alliance, which is the apex. Then Uganda Cooperative Alliance affiliates to International Cooperative Alliance, which is the overall global apex for all cooperatives in the whole world. That is the structure. Now, why was it formed? The teachers, through their primary societies, now these are circles, they searched together and formed a tertiary, which is Walimu Cooperative Union. And why did they form it? Because you are looking at bigger volumes, you are looking at growing vertically. Now, why the president comes in? Of course, now as teachers, having formed their circles, they needed loanable funds. They needed capital. Because you see, when you have just started, you don't have enough capital. And this is why you find most of these circles going to commercial banks to borrow so that they get enough money to own land to their members. So here the president comes in, and we appreciate him for this fund. So this is not free money, it's a revolving fund that was put in the union in order for these circles to be able to borrow and own land to their members. So it doesn't distort the cooperative model. The cooperative model downwards, the teachers themselves initiated and formed their own circles in order to access affordable and appropriate finance. But because they need a lot of capital, then the president realizes if they go on and borrow from these commercial banks, the interest rate is very high. And yet he's looking at circles providing affordable and appropriate finance to the teachers. So he now creates this fund which is revolving. Circle A borrows, gives to the teachers, they pay back, they again pay back to Walimu, then it continues like that. So that is the model, that is how it is working. And we really appreciate the government for this initiative. I was just doing some simple mathematics here. And fortunately, as explained, that the fund is not only targeting government employees, all teachers, as long as you're a teacher, nursery, primary, secondary, university, everybody, all these are teachers. Now, if you are to look at the number of teachers in this country, I don't know the number, but just take an estimate of 200,000. If every teacher contributed 100,000 per month, it means in 1 month they are contributing 20 billion per month. That's a lot of money. Every year, 240 billion. It means that the teachers in this country have the capacity to form their own bank within 1 year. And this is now taking me back to my definition of poor. Passing on opportunities repeatedly. You can imagine your teachers in the whole country, but every month you are donating money to these other banks that you don't own. Now, all your money that you donate to them is thrown out of the country and you remain struggling. So this is high time. I call upon Africans, we need to wake up. We are tired of donating our own wealth. And at the end of the day, when you have donated your wealth, unfortunately they call you a beggar. Why would you donate your wealth? Instead of appreciating you, then the other people say, Africans are beggars, they are poor. Africa is not poor. The poverty is the mind, not God gave us everything. I think God, if you are to really describe him, he must be an African. Because he gave Africa everything. Good soils, very fertile soils, very good weather, very intelligent people. Everything is okay. But the problem of Africa is donating wealth to the whites. Just imagine 240 billion per year is what you can contribute. Because in Uganda here, you only need 150 billion as minimum capital requirement to start a bank. So meaning that we would be having banks for teachers, Now these are circles, and this is where they are heading, because now that you have the walimu, eventually this is where they are heading. They can remain circles, but they even start and own a bank. We can have a banker for the army, a banker for the farmers, a banker for every category of people, because once you do not control the financial sector in an economy, you have a problem. There is no economy that can be progressive, that can be sustainable when the citizenry is not in charge of the financial sector, because it plays a very critical role. Now we are calling upon government. You see, government created the agricultural credit facility for the farmers. But this money is idle in commercial banks. Now, when you look at the policy says a regulated financial institution can actually access this money. So
now
what
that
to
is
do?
An open ticket.
Yes, open ticket. Now the circles are already regulated. So why doesn't government now channel this money from commercial banks to circles? And that is where now also teachers would access this money and every category of people. So in other words, what I'm trying to explain is that as we stand today, cooperatives are no longer for the poor and the illiterates. No, cooperatives are for those people who believe that enough is enough.
Now this takes me back to Okecho. He's talked about the values and the importance. Yes, true, you have the money is there. His Excellency gave you, Mwalimu Saka has been around for some time. He talked about the army having a bank. I must say Wazalendo has a bank.
Because it's the largest circle in the country.
Largest circle. I've escorted people there. I've seen friends, people line up, everything transparent. And even when you enter into their offices, they have just at our neighbors here. You see a bank. People, these guys are banking, these guys are withdrawing, and you're like, okay, this is the strength. And they have now even gone into real estate, by the way. Real estate, that was Zalendo. I think they're also in manufacturing, water or something like that. So Uzima. So it's really a very big cooperative. But how have the teachers embraced what is theirs? Because for the military, maybe one would say either it is mandatory or something like that. But the teacher fraternity, how are they embracing the Mwalimu Sacco?
Thank you very much. I want to talk about being, let me say, being a spokesperson. When we talk about UPDF, they have strictly one spokesperson. When we talk about police, they have strictly one spokesperson. When we come to teachers, we are all spokesperson. That's where we come in. We are saying that, can we also organize ourselves as teachers? Can we also have one apex that sends our views to? Because when we talk as a crowd, all we shall see is probably tear gas and that. But when we have one apex or one spokesperson talking on behalf of teachers, we really benefit. I want to get back to the young population who may not know what a cooperative is. One is a circle. Way back in the village as I was growing, we used to have a case, a metallic case. When it started with the treasurer keeping the metallic case and the key. And the money disappears. And when we were growing up, we knew they ran to Busoga. That is how we knew that, oh, so-and-so stole the circle's money and ran to Busoga. So with the inclusion of banks, actually we can form a bank. Now that is where the mindset change comes in. Once we have changed the minds of our teachers that let's embrace our own. It is the biggest challenge we have as Africa, as a continent. That, I'll give an example. That if I have a friend who has opened up a shop, instead of going to support this friend like any other customer, you want to go and support at a free cost. You want someone to give you something at a free cost. And yet you're giving to other people that you even don't know at a more cost. That means the other fraternity is benefiting. we as teachers, we need to embrace our own. We have Walimu that is giving you the cheapest credit or the cheapest funding. That's why we don't, when we bring in the aspect of we give you loans, it changes the whole,
yes,
the whole picture. We give you credit. Now, this credit is supposed to help you grow. Now, this credit was given to teachers. The 25 billion, when we cascade it down that, okay, let's give it to every teacher. Let's divide the 25 billion by probably 150,000 teachers. You're going to find every teacher is going to get 1,000. That is where the revolving part of it comes in. That when we give you this money, go use it, bring it back. Let's give it to another teacher. Let that teacher also use it and bring it back. Embracing SACCOs has been a challenge because of its challenges also. One is that members have lost their savings through cooperative model. The other one is that people still think that we save for Christmas. You find that at the end of the year, that is when there is a lot of pressure for people to pay back these internal loans that they borrowed. Reason being, we want to enjoy Christmas. Let's remove that perception and let's change the minds of Ugandans, not only teachers, but the whole country. If we embrace SACCOs, trust me, we shall get rid of the banks and we become the banks ourselves.
Thank you so much for that, that we shall become the banks ourselves and get rid of the banks. Not that banks do us bad, but the truth is building what is yours is very different from building or contributing to the strength of a business of another person. A bank of a particular circle, it is a member's bank. Last year, Ivan gave me very good news of a cooperative bank. I don't know how far they have gone, but I hope this year it doesn't come to an end when there isn't something seriously tangible for the cooperators, because they are eager and we are eager waiting for that.
You know, Mr. Chirabo, he talked about the issue of banks. You know, if the viewers, we are not saying that banks are bad. Banks are good, and they have really done a good job in the country. But we are talking about ownership and control. This is mine. If you go back to Europe, Europe is built on cooperatives. They use cooperativism as a model for development. But when you come to Africa, they use capitalism. We have now moved to capitalism. And the capitalism here meaning you are exploiting majority poor as an individual. Now what they do, they bring their banks here. But the question is, how many of the banks here are in the hands and the control of the citizens? Now, what do we need to do to liberate ourselves economically? We need to have our own banks, our own financial institutions, like it is in Kenya. The Cooperative Bank of Kenya, by last year December, its net worth was 607 billion Kenyan shillings, an equivalent of 17.6 trillion Ugandan shillings, purely owned by Kenyans. It's their bank.
The cooperators in Kenya.
The cooperators themselves having their own bank. So we are not, there are other banks in Kenya. But the citizens coming up together like the teachers would do, the army would do, and others. Kenya, if you went there, the Mwalimu Sacco Union is very big for teachers. Very big, huge one. Now, if you went to Netherlands, the farmers themselves have their own bank, which is Rabobank. And its net worth by last year, December, was 614 billion US dollars, an equivalent of 2,500 trillion Ugandan shillings. So what do we mean here? Can Ugandans also mobilize ourselves and own our own financial institutions? Not saying that we don't want this. No, we want them. They are part and parcel of us. But can we own? Like now, they move to the cooperative bank.
Yes.
Once you have like these teachers mobilized and having money, you have the army, you have the farmers, together you capitalize your own bank. A bank that will come in to address the needs of your people. Not a bank that is going there to look at profits, but rather focus on the needs of the members. So this is where we are heading. Teachers, I want to call upon all teachers in the whole country. Now that you are lucky the president created a fund for you to access affordable and appropriate finance, take advantage of it and move forward. You know, a president is not going to come to a parish level and give free money. For him, it is what he has done is enough, creating that enabling environment, creating that fund, and then you, the teachers, organizing yourselves, and you tap into this opportunity, grow yourselves. Accountants, I'm an accountant, a member of ICPAU. One day we were here at Hotel Africana, and we for our trainings quarterly. So during that training, I was not happy with the accountants. And I trickled them, accountants. No accountant is poor. Accountants are rich. And I asked them, where is your money? They all looked at me. The money is there, the other. Now, for all you people who are keeping money in these banks, who has ever been invited to attend an AGM for this bank? Nobody. Who has ever received the dividend from these banks? Nobody. Now what do? We need to start our own. And we started Accountant Circle. It's now a huge circle. The army, you see, Wazalendo. The police, Exodus. The parliamentary circle, just here next to us. The farmers, they have very huge circles. So now what is needed in the country is coming up with a real bank that supports the citizens in different aspects. And this is where we are heading. You asked about the cooperative bank. Consultations were done. All Ugandans agree that we need a bank. Now where we are heading is a real study, a comprehensive study. First of all, know what happened previously. How do you do it better for the future? This is where we are. So I want to call upon not only teachers, all professions, the engineers, you the journalists. I don't know. Let me ask you, where do you keep your money? You're always here hosting me. Where do you keep your money? In the bank. In the bank. Have you ever been invited for an AGM, to attend an AGM of a bank? Where
Never.
you keep your money?
Never.
Have you ever checked on your statement and you find a credit of a dividend? So why did you go to school?
I went to school, I'm here.
I'm sorry for that. But we are asking ourselves as Ugandans, then why did I go to school to get a degree, a master's, a whichever, to speak English or to understand and make money and move forward and develop this country?
Well, I told you this man, when it comes to speaking about cooperatives, he's a preacher of a gospel called Cooperative and Cooperative movements. And he believes that this is one of the things that will transform the lives of Ugandans if only we join various cooperatives in our sector. And I think this is what also government is looking at. Because when you look at all government initiatives aimed at poverty alleviation, they are moving on the cooperative model. Talk about parish development model, talk about Emyoga, youth livelihood. Still there's that element of cooperatives.
And we thank government for all these initiatives. All the initiatives you have mentioned plus others, the government has tried. What is needed now is me and you to change the mindset. Ugandans are so complicated, and when you come to the land, it now becomes a bit complex. You know, one time I was here and I was talking. Someone says, Ivan, you are talking about cooperatives. Cooperatives don't work. I said, you go to Europe. Go to France. The largest financial cooperative in the world is in France. France is in Europe. The second one is also in France. You go to Germany. Germany has cooperative banks that have formed an association. Go to Netherlands. Go to Norway. Go to everywhere. Go to America, USA, Canada, Brazil. Go to Asia Pacific. Go to South Korea. South Korea is ahead. Go to Malaysia. Go to everywhere. Economies worldwide have progressed because people the citizens themselves organize themselves, mobilize their resources, skills and knowledge, and develop the economy. That is the way to go.
That's the way to go. I have
a
picture on set, and surely, and surely, the Mwalimu Sacco is represented here. Passionate Ivan. Sometimes you have to give him a stop when it comes to cooperatives, but he has to drive also points home at the same time. Now, Okecho, looking at the Mwalimu Sacco, what is the membership like so far?
So far we have 385 SACCOs, with 185 already funded because of the criteria that we take. One is that they should be having projects. We are not just going to give out money to people who don't have what the president has always called vision. Now, back to how I started. We started as Walimu SACCOs Union, only giving funds to SACCOs. We later on realized that that model was not much working, because we are trying to reach out to the tail end, the teacher down there, whether hurt by the SACCO or not. So we amended our name to Walimu Cooperative Union, including our product. So we classified our products into class 1 and class 2. The class 1 are those that are still affiliated to a SACCO and are still receiving funds. The class 2 are now those teachers that were hurt by a specific SACCO, be it maybe their savings was eaten, I need to use that word, or be it that they got fed up or the SACCO collapsed. So that's where the class 2 come in, that this teacher who is not affiliated to a SACCO can still actually come for funding, because we are trying to enhance income in the home. You know, for credit, they will always tell you that when you're borrowing money, the one principle is that you borrow money, the installment that you're using for paying back, should the money that remains after you've paid back should be able to take care of your family. That is the bottom line of credit. Should be able to take care of your family. So when you're paying back a loan with other financial institutions, and the affordability is beyond what you even can afford, then we are not doing credit. So still back to class 2, we extend this credit to these teachers. One is not only teachers that are on still service, including those that have retired.
Oh.
Yes. Now we are extending it even to support staff. Because let's talk about a DEO. A DEO was once a teacher. Yes, just joining. A DEO was once a teacher, and he too should benefit. Besides just being the DEO, we are trying to extend the cooperative model way beyond that. And finally, the other thing that we are, since we were formed because of a need, we are forming another product that is in the process. It is called edu financing. We all know what edu financing is. I don't need to explain it so much, that we are financing teachers who are going for further studies. We got very scared when we saw on papers.
A degree is a must.
A must, and you will be fined if you don't have it. So we came with a product to help our teachers, that we can actually pay for you tuition in any university that you're going to upgrade. So we are addressing the needs of the teachers.
Well, thank you so much, Okecho, and allow me give each of you now a minute to wind up. And let me begin with Ivan. A minute, please.
Thank you so much, moderator. I want to call upon all Ugandans to embrace the cooperative model. It's the only model that is going to liberate us economically, socially, and culturally. And specifically teachers, now that we are lucky, the president gave an opportunity and created this fund for you to be able to access affordable and appropriate finance. Take advantage of it, develop yourselves. Think of your retirement. You come, save in your circle, access credit, develop, and start paying in installments. This is the way to go as a country. I want to thank UBC. I want to thank everyone, the viewers. Thank you so much for always being with us.
And Kecho, in a minute, please.
Yes, in a minute. Every time I get such opportunity in the air, I want to really sensitize the teacher fraternity that Walimu Cooperative Union is here to help, be it socially, mentally. We are talking about health. I moved with an insurance card here that we give to teachers as a package for medical with St. Catherine, and all these services are available. Just reach out to us. We are located in Chwatu Lenabe Road. You can go to the website for phone contacts. We shall surely receive you and address your needs. Thank you.
Well, you make me wish I was a teacher with a marine circle, because there is medical, almost it's looking at every aspect of life. And I hope that it continues having success. You know, sometimes you get bothered when things seem to be moving on very well, and then you hear issues arising. But I believe with the guidance of Uganda Cooperative Alliance, these are things that we shall overcome. Teachers there is an opportunity for you to financially, economically grow, but also the packages, the edu you've talked about, the health insurance, and many others. Well, I'll end here because Ruben must come with sports updates, but I'll return later in the next hour. Good morning.
Cooperative.